To introduce a gentleman who has become a very good friend of mine. He is a cinema photographer. He specializes in veterans. His website is called veteranshistory.org. He has traveled the world with World War II veterans, Korean era veterans, and Vietnam era veterans, filming their stories. And he has agreed to come and travel with us all of tomorrow. If he walks up to you tonight at a cocktail party and wants to take you aside and interview you prior to going to the wall, I mean, you don't have to, but we're going to try to get some interviews prior to going to the wall, during the wall, and after. And then we're going to put this in a very nice package. He'll put it together with us with some music and make us a very nice documentary. Anyway, a very good friend of mine, Larry Capetto. He's got a couple of examples of his work here that I'm going to let him show you. And then over here on this table, he's got some items for sale. But Larry, it's your show.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you. I don't like podiums, but for the sake of the room, I'm going to stand up here for a minute. But Sunday, February 9th, 2003, I live in Grand Junction, Colorado. I came home from church that morning, and I saw the red light blinking on my answering machine, and I knew I had a message. So I went over to retrieve the message, and here's what I heard. My name is Jack Lindenman. I was with the 35th Division, Infantry. I was in France, and I went to Omaha Beach. And he started to cry. That was the first World War II veteran that ever called me, that I interviewed. Jack has long passed away, but when he started to cry and I heard that message, I thought to myself, what have I tapped into here? 500,000 miles and 1,000 interviews later, I am now September 12th, 2013 in Arlington, Virginia, before a group of what I consider heroes, our Vietnam veterans. And I'd like to welcome you guys home, by the way. Thank you for your service. I'm just going to talk a few moments, and then I've got a couple of clips from some videos I've produced. North of here in Maryland is a man named Charlie Harris. Charlie is a Vietnam veteran. I didn't know he was a Vietnam veteran until like the third time I met him. Very humble man. And we were on the Fox affiliate in Baltimore on an interview one time, and he told the lady that was interviewing us that when he never talked about Vietnam until I came into his life and I talked to him. And he said, when he did the interview with me, this is what Charlie said. He said he felt like a burden was lifted off his shoulders. He felt like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. I interviewed another man in Maryland. He's actually a law enforcement veteran. And I did a film on law enforcement recently. He said, when Larry interviewed me, he helped me cleanse my soul. Now, I don't know all the particulars of what he was saying, other than I have found, it's my experience that, you know, having gone through a traumatic episode in your life, it's good to talk about it. And I'm not here to get anybody to open up and talk to me, other than to say, I've been very successful with my work, now 1,000 interviews if you can imagine, because I provide a very non-threatening environment for these veterans to open up and they talk to me. It's like every time I hear a story, I'm like, that's amazing. And for a moment of time, think about this. Where were you 45 years ago? For a moment of time, I have a window of opportunity. And I've always been intrigued with time. So here I am. I'm traveling back in time 40, 50, 60 years with the World War II vets, 70 years. And I'm hearing stories of when they were young men in combat, going to war. I've never been in combat. And a veteran will tell me, Larry, thank God you didn't have to go. Then I thank them that they did go and what they did. No veteran has ever called themselves a hero that I've ever heard of. They said the heroes are those that never came back. But to me, you're all heroes. And we live in a day where our young people are looking for role models and heroes. And here's a room full of them. I've been on 2 honor flights to Washington, D.C. with World War II veterans. It's like being in veteran heaven. You know, you are the motivation for why I go out and interview veterans and have them share their stories with me. Because you know why? You guys, and if there's any gals in here, you all were history being made. Think about that. My work is history being told. And so with great pride, I stand here before you today sharing my heart and my work with you, preaching to the choir here, but very mindful of what you did 45 years ago or whatever. You know, when you were young men, when I saw Saving Private Ryan, the first 20 minutes of that movie, something shook loose in me, and I began to think and became fascinated with what it would have been like to have been 18 and 19 years old, landing on a beach under enemy fire. You know, having that ramp of that Higgins boat going down and going out, and fate and destiny taking over and all the things that happened. You know, Spielberg did a great job, but he didn't interview the real guys. I did. I've got the real stories of the people that went out of those boats, that were seasick before they landed at Omaha Beach, that were throwing up in the boats. Both vomit bags were used. You know, they hit the beaches. It was like, I don't care what happens to me, get me off this landing craft. I'm so sick, you know. They landed on those beaches. And then when I started learning about Vietnam and the helicopters, I became just as fascinated with the helicopters. In fact, when I interviewed Lee in 2005 in Wyoming, I asked him about what it was like. You know, he saw the expression on the men's faces. You know, getting ready. I hear when you hear a helicopter in Vietnam, it's either good or bad. Is that right? Yeah. It's either coming to pick you up or they're taking into battle. You know, I don't know if Hollywood's got it right, but I've got the real stories, and I'm so proud of that. When I started my work 10 years ago, I said the world doesn't need another documentary. What's going to be different about mine? Two things came to mind. Number one, the story has to come from the source. Nobody's going to tell your story. You're going to tell the story. Teachers tell me all the time when I talk in schools before students, history is best learned from those who were there. You were there. Your job was important. The second thing that came to mind was the day is going to come where I'm going to have the opportunity to share this with our younger generation. And that's what I do today. That's what I do today. I go into schools. I talk to our young people. I help teach them about our country, the history of our country, our veterans. And all of a sudden, their fathers or grandfathers or uncles, their brothers, everybody becomes a hero in that family after they hear a story. There's a lot of emotion that comes forth from these stories. You know, it's touched my life profoundly, deeply. My father served during the Korean War. My uncle's in World War II. But the appreciation, the honor to be here today with you, and tomorrow at the wall, that's going to be a very emotional time for me, a very meaningful time. And I understand to a degree what those names mean and represent to you, and who's on that wall. And so I stand here before you today with a grateful heart, thanking you for your service. You walk around in society now, you come, you go, and I see you at whatever age you are now, but there's a part of my mind that sees that 18, 19, 20-year-old in combat, going to fight for his country. Heck, man, the miles I've traveled are nothing compared to what you've done. I get homesick when I leave home. I get homesick. And I'm flying out here yesterday from Colorado, and I'm thinking, man, let's put things in perspective. I'm going 2,000 miles. What about being 10,000 miles away from home, fighting for your country, 12 months in a foreign land, you know? So I don't know what you all think about what you did, but I think it's fantastic, it's great, it's to be honored, it's to be remembered. And this country should never forget what happened in Vietnam, the sacrifices that were made. And I'm just so grateful to be here today. I'm going to show you a quick video. Lee wanted me to show this. After this, allow me to cue up another video about the wall that I produced for my film. I do have a Vietnam Remembered DVD here. This is a 90-minute film. Lee is in this film. These are a number of stories of Vietnam. It's called Vietnam Remembered. This is a great documentary. If you don't want it, maybe you know a Vietnam vet that needs to hear it. You know, the Veterans Administration got a hold of this several years ago, and they said it's got therapeutic value. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, when these combat veterans listen to somebody else talk about combat, they feel like it's okay to start opening up and tell their stories. You know, and I believe there's a healing in that. So thank God for all of you. But those are over there. I've got them. Just grab me today. I'll be here throughout the day. And I'm going to show a little clip from a video. It's called Where Are the Desks? This is a video I show in school and to audiences across our country. It really is an experience of loyalty and honor in the classroom. And I don't think I'll set it up other than to say that. But watch this video, and then we'll go ahead and do the other one. So I appreciate your attention. Kenny, if we can lower the lights if you're still in here. Thank you.